Everyone who is attending. It's great to see some people here, and if more people trickle on, that's great as well. Um, I am Maggie Lindruth. I'm the U.S. Director of ACMS, and we're gonna just have more of a kind of informal conversation today about the field schools. And before we do that, I do just want to give you a little bit of an overview of what the American Center for Mongolian Studies, or ACMS, is, as well as just some of our other programs and things that we offer more generally. So let's get started. So ACMS is a international educational organization, a certified 501c3 nonprofit in the United States, and a registered charity, international charity in Mongolia. And our mission is to support the development of Mongolian studies and academic exchanges in, with, and about Inner Asia, including Mongolia, of course. We have a lot of different kinds of academic and educational activities and resources, including a library on site in Ulaanbaatar at our office there, as well as fellowship programs, language classes, speaker series, sometimes exhibitions and cultural programming, and of course, the reason that any of you are here or watching this recording, which is our field school programs. We also are part of a consortium of overseas research centers based in the United States, and also part of a university and institutional consortium as well. We were founded in 2002, and our Ulaanbaatar, or UB, office opened in 2004. And you are welcome to subscribe to our newsletter, follow us on social media, etc., using the QR code on the screen or by going to our website. So we have a lot of different programs. Like I mentioned, we have research fellowships for the summer for usually young scholars, graduate students, postdocs, to pursue field research in Mongolia, year-round Mongolian language classes, and an intensive summer Mongolian language program where there are fellowships available. We have a multilingual research library in Ulaanbaatar with online resources as well. And we have a library fellowship program that goes along with that. We have regular speaker series events online and in person, a summer overseas faculty development seminar, and then custom programs for universities and educational groups. So if you are part of a university and you're interested in leading a study tour in Mongolia about really any topic, you should reach out to us because we'd be happy to work with you on that. And we also have our summer field school. So that was my very short intro of ACMS, and now I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that we can hear from our first field school for the summer of 2025, which is going to be a short presentation by Richard, Dr. Chilek Torello. Also, Richard, if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, please let me know because I have a terrible feeling that I am. So yeah, feel free.
Yeah, it's Chowick.
Chowick. Okay.
Chowick. Okay, so I'll take over here. I will try to take over here. Resume slideshow. Are you seeing this?
Not yet, but that might be on me.
There it is. Share screen.
There you go.
Well, let's take that.
There we go.
Okay. Okay. Do you see that? Launch meeting. Trying to. Do you see it?
We can see it now.
We can see it.
Okay. Well, I can't. Let's see. So, are you seeing the various slides?
Yep.
Okay. So, fortunately, it's over on this side, so I have to move over here so I can see it. Okay. Our course overview. Today's Mongolians are the descendants of nomads who built some of the greatest empires of the old world. And these empires had a tremendous impact on the cultures of Central and Eastern Asia. And most people are familiar with Genghis Khan, or as he's known in Mongolia as Chinggis Khan, uh, as building the greatest land empire the world has ever seen. But there were other empires. Despite their importance, little is known about these empires that arose from mobile pastoral populations that lived in marginal environments. These are features we commonly associate with egalitarian societies and not state societies. How and why empires emerged under these circumstances are among the foremost research questions in the archaeology of Mongolia and Central Asia. Central to these questions is the role of cities and urban centers in this nomadic landscape. Although many cities are known and have been found, very few have been studied. So to address this deficiency, we started the Uyghur Cultural Heritage Project, or UCHP, in 2024. Okay, now how do I get to the next slide? All right, what's going on here? I'm sharing the screen.
Yes.
Maybe arrows on the bottom, like left-hand side of the slideshow, like down below UCHP.
Yeah. I don't see any of that.
No, you were doing it before, so.
I know it was. Oh, there it
there you go.
goes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the Uyghur Empire it's variously pronounced in various ways, the Uyghurs or Uyghurs, and I will probably end up using them interchangeably. It flourished from the middle of the 8th century CE to the 9th century and was one of several Mongolian empires that preceded the famous 13th century Mongol Empire of Chinggis Khan. Earlier empires built forts, palaces, and temples, but the Uyghurs were the first to build cities and towns. Uh, give you a little brief chronology here of the better known Mongolian empires. The first one was the Xiongnu or Hunnu Empire, as it's known in Mongolian. And this was founded in the 3rd century BCE and lasted until the 1st century CE. And then there was the first Turkic Khaganate, or it's like kingdom, that was founded in 552 to 603 CE. The second Turkic Khaganate was from 682 to 744. And the Uyghur Empire, or sometimes referred to as the third Turkic Khaganate, was founded with the defeat of the second Khaganate in 745 and persisted until 840. Then there was a big hiatus, and the Khitan Empire, or the Liao dynasty, took over in 907 and lasted until the 12th century. And then, of course, the Mongol Empire began in the early 13th century and lasted through the middle of the 14th century. Sagan Sumin Balgas, which is the subject of the field school study, was once of these urban centers that was established by the Uyghur Empire in a tributary of the Orkhan Valley of central Mongolia sometime between the 7th and 8th centuries CE. The Orkhan Valley is often considered the sacred heartland of Mongolia and is now known as a World Heritage Site. It was the home of the Uyghur capital at Harbalgas and later Harhoran, or Karakoram, the capital of the Mongol Empire. And behind this slide is an aerial view of the main architectural complex at Sagan Sumin Balgas. And in the bottom left is a picture, as a view of our camp last year, which gives you an idea of the scale. Okay, our research goals here are to seek information concerning what role Sagan Sumin Balgas played in Uyghur society. Specifically, who built the town, who resided there, and what activities took place there. We're interested in who built the town because historical sources tell us that the Chinese and Manichaeans, these Manichaeans were a religious cult associated with Persian traders who controlled the Silk Road. Apparently, the Chinese and these Manichaeans had a big role in the development of the Uyghur Empire, And some historical accounts say that some of the Uyghur cities were built by these two groups. So we're hoping to find if there's any evidence of them, archaeological evidence that we can find. And in terms of what activities took place there, was this a center for political, religious, or commercial activities? Is there any manufacturing going on, metallurgy, ceramic manufacture, or other activities like that? Chronology is crucial to this particular study. Some scholars believe that Sagan Sumin Balgas was the very first Uyghur urban center ever built in the 7th century before the establishment of the empire. Other scholars argue that the Uyghurs could not have built the urban center before they had established this empire and developed their relationship with the Chinese. In this case, it was the Tang dynasty and the Manichaeans. So one of our initial goals is to establish the dates of construction and occupation of the site. And to this end, we'll conduct excavations, pedestrian surface surveys to collect datable materials such as wood, bones, ceramics, roof tiles, and coins. This little picture off onto the right side is the Tariat inscription, and a stela very like this embedded in the back of a turtle is where the Uyghur Khagans or Hans wrote their histories. So if you can't really see on this slide, but that stone there is inscribed with historical writings, and that's one of the historical sources we have. Okay, learning objectives. Participants will gain an understanding of archaeology in Mongolia from the time of the Turkic Khaganates to Chinggis Khan. They'll have hands-on experience in basic archaeological methods of pedestrian survey, hand-on excavation, screening, artifact processing and recording, and digital mapping and photography. We'll be using conventional and drone photography in combination with state-of-the-art computer software to document our investigations and to create 3D models of the site and its environment. And here is a picture up on the upper right of our team excavating a trench at an Uyghur site. And if you look under the arm of the individual in the trench, you can see mud bricks. So we encountered a wall here, and we're removing roof tiles. So we believe we found a structure here. And in the illustration below, our staff and students are performing aerial drone photography. Okay, Sagan Suman Balgas and its surroundings. This is a drone view looking towards the southeast across what is called the Sagan Suman Valley. And you can see a little creek, a ribbon running across the top, the upper third of this picture, and the main ruin complex below it. And off in the distance, you can see ger camps or tourist camps, and we'll probably be staying in one of those. And again, our field camp is just to the left of the corner of the ruin. Here's some close-up images of Sagan Suman Balgas, of the walls. This type of architecture is called rammed earth, and it involves layers of hard-packed dirt. It's unfired and very fragile. And if you look at the, well, I'll show you in a different picture, but here are some views of the ruin. In the lower right, the image shows a series of rooms in the upper center and adjacent to a big courtyard. And if you can look very carefully, there's an elevated platform in that courtyard. And last summer, we began excavation of one of the lowermost room there and found walls and pillars. Okay, it's gone dead again. Okay, this is some of the digital photography and 3D modeling we'll be doing. In the upper right here is a Bronze Age deer stone. It's an unfinished one within a burial cairn at a site several kilometers from Sagan Suman. Off on the left here is a segment of the rammed earth wall. If you look very carefully, as this image turns around the other side of it, at the bottom is a series of holes. And if you look very carefully, you can see little things protruding from those holes. Those are wooden beams. And there's another series of much more eroded holes up near the top of this wall. And so these walls were constructed with layers of earth, but every 3 feet or so, they would lay down a series of horizontal wooden beams. And we'll get to the importance of that in the next slide. And over here in the bottom right is the 3D modeling of a trench that we excavated last year. And it's difficult to see in this size, but there is a wall of, you can see much better in this view. Right in the center, you can see some layers of the rammed earth. So this is an interior room wall made in the same manner of construction as the exterior walls. In the center at in the floor of this profile here is the remains of a large wooden post that probably was a roof support. Okay, one of the most exciting things about working at Sagan-Sumin Bulgus is the opportunity to do dendrochronology and assist in studies of dendroclimatology in Mongolia. Dendroclimatologists have been working for several decades there and have built a number of chronologies to assist in their studies. But archaeologists have taken very little advantage of this in dating archaeological sites. I'm aware of only 2. One of them is another Uyghur town site in Siberia, and they were able to date the construction of this site to the year. And this is something that would be very important for us because, as I said earlier, there is a big debate about when this town was built. And it would be very important to date it precisely because it will change a lot of our, it could change a lot of our ideas about how and why these town sites were built. So in the upper right here, you see 2 beams that were eroding out of the wall adjacent to that wall segment that we saw in the 3D model. These we just noticed protruding out of the ground, and we excavated back, exposed them, and were able to get whole sections. These pieces of wood are 1,300 years old, but they're as hard as rock. It took us half an hour to saw through them. And then in the bottom right here is a large beam, a large segment of a beam protruding out of a different wall segment at the site. So far, we have found 17 beams, which is extremely promising. We've only been able to sample 2. This summer, we plan to sample many more. We'll also be doing ceramic analysis. At the left here are Hittite style pottery that involve this sort of crude punctate pattern. This is all that we have found so far at Sagan-Sumin. But what we would hope to be finding is the pottery style on the right, which involves a much more intricate impressed pattern style of pottery. Roof tile analysis is very important for this time period. In the upper left is the historic roof of the famous Buddhist temple at Erden Zoo, but it illustrates the manner in which roofs were formed. The image next to this on the right is a concave roof tile that is at the bottom that goes on the bottom, or it's the first tile placed. Next to it is the end piece of a barrel, convex barrel tile that goes on top of that and connects to adjoining concave roof tiles. And then that indentation then tucks in underneath the next roof tile above it. And at the bottom are the end pieces. Now, if you look at the modern or the historic building, you see some pretty ornate end pieces, which look like the image of some kind of animal face, grotesque animal face. Well, in the Uyghur period, they used this a simpler lotus leaf style pattern. That this is what we hope to find. These are very diagnostic in terms of time and relationship between different urban centers. So they will help us a lot if we can find these. Okay, oops, broader objective. Sorry. To place our archaeological learning in a broader context, students will also visit museums in Ulaanbaatar and the World Heritage Sites of the Orkhan Valley. Included here is Harbalgus, the capital of the Uyghur Empire. You can in the upper right is an image of the palace structure within the fortified complex at Harbalgus. Below that is a LiDAR image of Harbalgus. And if you look carefully in the upper, about 3/4 up on the left is you can see a dark rectangle. That is the fortress complex. It's at the center of a massive city that covered up to 39 square kilometers. This is the largest city ever built in ancient Mongolia. Below that is a model of Karakorum, the Mongol capital, which was much smaller. On the left is the temple complex. Then you can see courtyards of various facilities, various buildings, and then a mass of the urban center there. And above that are churches and other temples built by non-Buddhist religions. And then in the bottom left here is a view of the Buddhist temple at Erden Zoo. So yeah, we'll visit all three of these sites. And we hope if there's time, we'll visit some more. Students will come away from this experience with a broad understanding of Mongolian archaeology from as early as the Paleolithic age to the historical period, while helping to preserve the important and endangered cultural heritage of Mongolia. Okay, our schedule. So day one, June 14th is Saturday. You will arrive and we'll meet late afternoon or evening and introduce ourselves. Day two, we will do a tour of the Ulaanbaatar historical and archaeological museums, and in the evening we'll do a brief course orientation. On the third day, Monday, we'll travel to Tsagansu and Bulgus, and it's a fairly long trip. It's several hundred miles, but it can take up to 8 hours, depending on traffic. And then in the evening, we'll provide a brief introduction to Mongolian archaeology. So from Tuesday to Friday, we'll be doing field work and laboratory work at the site. Saturday, the 8th, on the 8th day, we will go back to the Orkhan Valley and we'll tour those heritage sites. Sunday, we'll do a half day of field and laboratory work and give everybody a half day off to rest, do laundry, walk around, explore, whatever they desire. And then the following Monday through Friday will be the additional field work and laboratory work. And then on Saturday, the 15th day, we'll return to Ulaanbaatar, and that will be the completion of the course. And then on the following Sunday, people would have the option of leaving Ulaanbaatar, staying there to see more of the city, or joining some other tour or expedition. This will be followed up by a second tour. If people can either just do the first 2 weeks or they can stay for the entire time. Those who wish to stay for the 4 full weeks can either stay in camp at Sagansumun and explore there. If there's enough people and a vehicle available, they can tour the area, or they can hike around. Or they can go back with the returning group, spend a couple of nights in Ulaanbaatar to rest, eat at a nice restaurant, get some warm showers, yeah, or and then return with the new group of students on the following Monday. On the bottom right here is an illustration of one of the wall segments and one of the major causes of damage to the site. So we are trying as hard as we can to document this structure because it's very fragile and it's eroding very rapidly. And an image on the right is of the Sagansumun Valley. Finally, your team leaders, myself, I'm a senior archaeologist at Statistical Research Incorporated. It's a private research company, and I'm a research associate at the University of Arizona. I've had over 50 years of experience directing archaeological projects and field schools in the U.S., Southwest, and Southern California. I began my Mongolian research in 2012, and I participated in my first excavation there in 2015. In 2017, I joined with Dr. Amgalantugs to investigate Bibalek, which is a large Uyghur town in northern Mongolia. Then we started the UCHP when we were joined by Dr. Batbeyer in 2024, and we began exploration at Sagansumun, Balgas, Bibalek, and we're hoping to work at some other Uyghur towns. Dr. Tsen Amgalantugs of the Institute of Archaeology in the Mongolian Academy of Sciences has over 20 years of experience directing archaeological projects in Mongolia. He recently completed his dissertation on Bronze Age archaeology and is an expert on the Bronze Age mortuary and burial sites. And that 3D model of the Bronze Age burial cairn near Sagansumun was what he found. Dr. Tumur Ochir Batbeyer, also of the Institute of Archaeology, is a recognized expert on the medieval age archaeology in Mongolia. And the medieval age is the time of these late empires and includes Genghis Khan's Mongolian Empire. He has many years of experience working at ancient Mongolian cities. Between 2004 and 2017, he participated in the Mongolian German team excavating the capital of Karakoram, and he completed his dissertation on the Nestorian monuments at the site in 2021. That's those buildings at the far end of that model. And there was an Nestorian community that had immigrated from Western Asia to Karakoram, and there were many foreign groups there. Since 2017, he's continued to work with this German team on excavations at Harbalgas itself. So he's the guy who really knows this stuff, and we depend on him a lot to interpret things. And here's just some parting images. There's a Gur camp in the background of the picture on the left, and this young girl who is giving a going away blessing ceremony. Any of you who have been to Mongolia before would be accustomed to this. Above to the upper right is a view of some of our students from last year at the site digging, and below that was our team from last year. And that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Richard. It's been great. We can move on to the questions at the end of this session. So we want to move forward with our next course instructor, Dr. Tırma. So Tırma, could you introduce yourself briefly? And from there, we can go ahead with our last year participants to share their experience. Yes.
Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Tirman Imdua. Currently I work as a senior lecturer and head of the Department of Public Administration at the National University of Mongolia. And I have earned my PhD degree in Natural Resources and Sustainability program from University of Alaska Fairbanks last year. And my doctoral research focused on community-based natural resource management principles for protecting the buffer zone rangelands at Holstein National Park. And my research mostly focused on community-based natural resource management, rangeland governance, and climate change issues. Currently, I'm working on two research projects. One of them is at Holstein National Park, which explores conflicts between crop farmers and herders within the buffer zone of Holstein National Park. Second one investigates climate change impacts on the Kashmir herders in eastern Mongolia, especially in Squatra province. And last year, I led Holstein National Park managing biodiversity in the form of Mongolian native horse. So this year we are offering two courses related to horse. The second one is changing biodiversity at Holstein National Park. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now we can get into the part where we're gonna hear about the feedbacks and the experience from our last year participants. So how about we start with Chris? Chris, would you introduce yourself and share with us what you have learned and your experiences with us from last year?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. My name is Chris Levensey. I'm a high school history teacher in Vermont. And I initially was interested. I created a class called China, Korea, Japan, and I look at East Asia and a couple other classes that kind of connect to this. And so very much an interest of mine. I didn't know a whole lot coming in. And so one of the things for me on this experience was the diversity of knowledge that all the professors and people we interacted with brought to us. Really, really high quality education. So we would go out and do field work during the day at Hustai, and we'd come back and process that both through lecture, but also problem solving, which I really appreciated because we were part of kind of trying to figure out this. In my mind, part of it was about the challenges of modernity. So you've got, this herders, farmers, a national park trying to introduce the Powalski horses back into it. And so there's this incredible mix of the environment, political and social issues happening really, really clearly and acutely in Mongolia. And I think that those issues also apply to all over the world. I live in rural Vermont, and we're facing some of those very same things. How do we kind of be part of, a modern world and still have these, a foot in the history of our place? And so we got to see cheese makers, wool clothing makers, the Bakhtar horses, the dogs, Mongolian dogs. We got to break down gears and put them back up. And so lots of really interesting things. The cultural festival Nadam, we got to see the kind of archery and wrestling and all of those things. So it was a really wonderful experience and also very intellectually challenging to kind of come back and process that with people that were my particular roommates in the Ger gentleman was from Singapore, and his experience was kind of Eastern Bloc countries, and he knew about 5 different languages, and he was working for the government in some capacity and brought a particular view. And our other roommate was from Germany, very much interested in kind of environmental issues, and was a writer for like a science magazine and other things. And so the group that was assembled brought this incredible intellectual knowledge, and then what the lecturers and the staff brought to us also matched that, and it was a really wonderful experience for me. So And I'm bringing that back to my students. It was incredibly applicable, and they were super excited. And I hope one day to be able to bring my students to do one of these in Mongolia. So that was a little bit from me, and I'm happy to answer any questions or talk more about it. So.
Thank you so much. It's great to hear that what you have learned, and it's also how you're applying that to what you're teaching to the students at your school. That's great. That's fantastic. So, as you said, if you bring those kids someday in Mongolia, we would be happy to host that program in any way we could support, So that's great. That's fantastic. All right. So maybe now we could also move on to our next participant. Amy, are you there? So can we hear your experience?
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I'm driving. The weather was such that I was very delayed and I should be at my destination, but I'm about 45 minutes behind. So I'm coming to all of you live from California on the 99. It's one of our large freeways that runs up through the middle of the state. I'm really, really happy to have this opportunity to talk to all of you. I'm sorry I'm not looking at you, but obviously the road is where my priority has to be. I want to say that Chris gave an absolutely fantastic overview and introduction of our program, the Managing Biodiversity in Hustai National Park. Everything he said was equally applicable to me. I think it is one of the best experiences that I've had, both culturally, socially, environmentally. I can't say enough about it. To introduce myself and where I'm coming from in my background. So I'm actually a psychology professor at Pasadena Community College, and how I got interested in this is very similar to Chris in that I tend to focus on a globalized approach to the classroom. So I primarily teach biopsychology, neuroscience, introduction to psychology. But given that these are all topics of humans and about the human mind, it applies to every country, everybody, everywhere. And yet the curriculum, at least in the United States, tends to have a very overwhelmingly Western perspective. So I'm always trying to bring in other viewpoints, other stories from other cultures and how they can inform upon our psychology. In particular, one of the things that I was most interested in is I had done some work with another colleague of mine with the Yupik community up in the Aleutian Islands up in Alaska. And primarily, we were looking at the psychological impacts of climate change on these communities. So when you've been passing along your culture, when you've been passing along your old traditions that are tied to not only yourself and your people, but also to the land, and now the land has completely changed, the culture is changing. What does that mean? And what does that mean for what you pass on to future generations? And so we found some interesting things there. And when I came upon this opportunity in Mongolia, especially with the way that they're working with the pastoral nomadists in the buffer zone, I was really interested to go and kind of learn more about it and see how Mongolia is not only preserving its culture, preserving its environment, and dealing with climate change, but they seem to be doing so very successfully. And I will also just say that Sema is awesome, and we were very proud of her because she actually defended and finished her PhD while we were sort of all in contact with her, and so that was very exciting for all of us. And she and I will both be presenting at a conference this year in Greece on climate change and community-based conservation in Hustai National Park. So yes, I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have, and I am super excited to see Chris again, and we need to talk more. But I really think this is a wonderful opportunity, and I am just really happy that I certainly had to do this.
Thank you so much, Amy. Even though you're driving, even though your willingness to talk to us, that's great. And take care. Your safety is important. So in the remainder of the time, it's okay to if you don't show your, show your video. It's fine if you just answer or talk, by just audio. That should be fine. Your safety is most important to us. Yes.
Thank you so much for understanding.
Yes, that's fine. All right, so now we could move on to our next participants, Marcia. So if I'm pronouncing your name incorrect, please, uh, I apologize for that if that's the case. Marcia, so can we hear about your experience at the camp or in the countryside? And also if there are any advices or like you would give to like our upcoming program participants, anything. So anything you feel like you should share with those folks, that would be perfect.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Can you see me?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah, I had a wonderful experience, very similar to Chris and Amy. I teach AP World History at the high school level and mostly juniors, so they're 17. And then sometimes I teach AP Human Geography. So there's so many things I got out of this. Well, I did both courses. I did the course about horses before, and then 2 weeks at Hustai. But I think the number one thing is just really experiencing the geography of Mongolia. I love the vastness of it, the openness. It's just so different. I live in Maryland. I grew up in Ohio, and I just was constantly comparing the lay of the land, I guess. So I always feel I'm a big proponent of experiential education, which is basically learning by doing. And I talk about that quite a bit when I teach. And I think a lot of my students also, like to learn that way. So very much like what Chris said, I would love to eventually bring some students to Mongolia. And I've also have shared this summer's courses with some of my kids, because I think you have to be 18. So some of my seniors that I had last year that are heading off to college, I'm encouraging them to apply. Other things were the cultural aspects, like Amy and Chris also mentioned. I'm not going to be redundant, but just experiencing the Mongolian culture and the crafts and the just the food, everything was just, I don't know, I really enjoyed it very much. In terms of Hustai, the staff was very, very nice, very friendly, very helpful. The food was very good. I don't know, I really enjoyed my stay there. Staying in the gear was just wonderful, experiencing that. And I guess I'll end with just experiencing the herding culture. I grew up on a farm, and so it's always fun to compare and contrast how I grew up to how the herding culture is still existing, which I'm very happy about. And then another thing I talk about quite a bit in my classes are the role of the nomads in world history, and how they were like conduits in terms of moving goods around, and the role they played in trading. So I just feel like, once again, with the role of the horses and how they impacted movement and trading, I got to see that firsthand. And like I said, I could share that with my students. So once again, highly recommend it. I already told Surma I would definitely want to come back eventually for another course. And I guess, like I said, if you have any questions, I would be glad to, answer anything, but highly recommend it.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed all these talks and your experiences with our program and what you have learned, how it felt, that's fantastic. And like when it comes to herding, like it's definitely the beautiful culture of Mongolia. I'm so proud of that as a Mongolian as well. So, and also to hear from you guys as a perspective from the not the local person, that's great, So yeah, I mean, like, also if you feel like if there's anything you feel like you should talk or share with our participants in the future, like know-how or advices, like what to pack, what was the one thing you feel like they should keep in mind, before they come to Mongolia, if it's their first time ever, what would you say to them? So that would be my next question. Also, anything else you want to share with us, that would be great too. So, Chris, do you have anything to suggest or like?
Well, I did the almost 3-week course at Hustai, and I think one of the things that was suggested that we bring enough clothes for those 3 days, and this is a really minor thing, but there was laundry available and that kind of thing, so I would have brought much less clothes, and because I brought back lots of wonderful gifts from the various festivals and things we did, and I had to buy an extra bag because of the gifts I bought, so I would have brought a lot less clothes. The food was fantastic. I think for me, both being very intellectually challenged by what happened, but also physically challenged on the kind of field studies we did. And it was a really nice kind of pace, but challenging. So it was slow and steady. And so I think I would say any person could do that. And it was geared towards people that were, super physically fit to somebody who maybe has more challenges. And it was accommodating to all of those people. Gears were super comfortable to sleep in and warm. So the facilities were fantastic. The food, again, amazing. Lots of different kind of buffet items to have for you. And so no worries about any of that stuff from the end. And I would just say, if you had an opportunity, I had a layover in Istanbul, plan a little extra time because I wanted to spend more time in Ulaanbaatar and also some of the stops on the way. So.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. And my next question would be more like a general or like question, a random question, I would say. So do you have any like unforgettable moment, like something
Oh
you
my,
have only experienced in Mongolia? Do you want to share that with us? Is
oh,
there, yeah.
absolutely. I do. I absolutely do.
Okay. Yes,
With a
go
couple
on,
other,
Amy.
with 3 other participants from our program who aren't on this, we went horseback riding one kind of late evening as the sun was setting, and it was the 4 of us literally riding out from Hustai across the steppe, and it was absolutely an amazing. It was just an amazing experience. I don't think I'll ever forget galloping, just through the grasslands on this beautiful little Mongolian horse, and it's all open, and it was great. It was a really great, wonderful, wild feel. And I just wanted to say, I wanted to second what Chris was saying, which is, if you have extra time, definitely use it while you're there. I went to the Gobi for 8 days after Hustai, and it was wonderful. So.
Thank you so much. Yes, the riding a horse is also definitely one of the popular activities you should try or in Mongolia. So it's of course like I wouldn't say it's like a very much like for everyone it's like different, but just to get on the horse, that would be one of the best experience you would have in Mongolia. So yeah, great. Okay, so Maggie, do you have any other questions as well from these 3 participants? Like, if you do have.
Oh, I'm thinking. I think something just generally, actually, for either of the 3 participants or from Richard as well, as someone who, is a foreigner who has gone to Mongolia. What is something that you experienced or saw maybe the first time that you went that you didn't expect, or that really surprised you in either a good or a surprising way? If there's anything, I'd love to hear about that from any of the 4 of the other, foreign participants.
Like a cultural shock thing or something you have never expected, but you experienced, but in either good way or bad way, not everything has to be perfect, sometimes you experience something new, like culturally shocked, So do you have such experience? Did you have?
Well, a couple for me, and kind of going along with an amazing experience. The accessibility to kind of nature in a way that was amazing. Like the first time you see the Kowalski horses, right? And a group of them was like thrilling, and we were all like with our binoculars. And then towards the end, there was a time where we were out looking. We spent time looking at marmots and deer, and the steppe eagles and Argali sheep, and seeing all those, and then how they interact and impact each other. But one of the last days we went out and we were going to look at some wolf dens, and I forgot who it was, but one of our guides or one of the leaders of the trip, we were all quiet. What's that? Maybe made this call to the wolves. We were up there at like 4 a.m, and it was incredibly quiet, and you're in this vast steppe, and then he made this call, and then the wolves woke up, and all the babies started just howling and screeching, and because they were hungry and they were asking their parents to get food. And it was just a brilliant moment, sound wise, and like the knowledge to where they're going to be making the sound. It was just incredible. That was one of them for me.
Great. That's wonderful. Like, as a also local Mongolian, there's a set word saying that if you come across or hear like any type of like exposure, I mean, to the like wolves, like that's a good luck. That's what we say. Like, if you see them, that's a great of luck. That's what we say. Like, especially for the men. So for me, like I haven't seen any of those wolves yet, but hopefully in the future I would see it. So that's fantastic to hear that you guys already have such experience in just that short amount of time in Mongolia. That's perfect. Okay, so that's great. Richard, as a course instructor, is there anything you want to also share with your the participants, that what to prepare, what's the expectations? Is there anything you have also experienced as a foreigner in Mongolia, like from your experience for these years in Mongolia, you want to share with them?
Sure, I'd love to. Yeah, I've spent 9 or 10 years traveling in all over Mongolia, and it's just the diverse and incredible landscapes from the lower Gobi to the higher elevation Gobi Desert with uh, canyons and rock formations that are otherworldly. The steppe country is vast and so open. I mean, it's like a desert in that sense, that there's just these vast open landscapes that can see so far, and the mountain country and the forests. The diversity is just incredible, and so many beautiful landscapes. I've seen some of the most beautiful places in the world uh, in Mongolia, and yeah, um, Chris mentioned, yes, some of the raptors, incredible raptors. I mean, out there. I'm a birder, bird watcher, and I'm just overwhelmed with the size and variety and number of raptors out there. And I'm also a fisherman, and some of the world's best fishing in Mongolia. The largest salmonids in the world you can find out there, and grayling that just love to take a fly in the smallest creeks. Uh, it's a fascinating place. Uh, yeah, I've just fallen in love with Mongolia, and I've been going out there every summer, regardless of whether I can do any research or not, just to explore. And of course, the archaeology out there is absolutely amazing and very diverse, from the Paleolithic archaeology. The Bronze Age archaeology is fabulous. Um, the they don't have the big town sites like the Uyghurs and the later empires, but they have the most incredible burials, virtually inverted pyramids uh, uh, with kings buried with golden chariots, and at the bottom of these pyramids, and then these unspoiled towns, unexplored, giant ancient cities, is what really surprised me and hooked me when I first visited. And in terms of being prepared, yeah, June is a pretty mild time of year, but the weather can be diverse as well. And so be prepared for bring lots of layers for rain or cold. I mean, when those fronts come down from Siberia, you can be hot one day and you're freezing the next. So yeah, just don't bring a lot of clothes, but bring layers that you can pile on. Yeah.
Thank you
I
so
have one.
much.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Maggie,
I
you want
just
to
want to say,
go?
I know
Sorry.
Marcia, I'm sure wants to say some things too. I just wanted to mention too, one of the things that was surprising to me, and I don't know why I thought this. There's probably lots of reasons, but Ulaanbaatar was modern city with super stylishly dressed people everywhere all the time, and I felt completely underdressed all the time because I was thinking I would be more in a rural place, and they had everything. We went to a really great jazz club. When I first got there and was wandering around at Sukbatar Square, the main square, they were showing the Olympics on a giant screen TV, and so this side by side with this absolute modern city and going, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours away and being in this herder culture, that side by sideness was one of the things that struck me too. And I think I think Marcia said this and Amy said this, the people of Mongolia are diverse and amazing. And it was really a wonderful thing to be there. And before I went, several people said, be careful in UB, it's kind of dangerous. And I'd never felt that for a moment. And so that was also surprising to me. And so wanted to share that.
Yeah, Chris, I agree with you. I was telling Surma the other day, I actually got lost in UB, and I didn't feel scared at all. Everybody was very nice, and but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised about what a metropolitan, thriving city UB was. But then again, I like what you said. You just go an hour, 2 hours out, and it's so different. And I don't know. It's hard to explain. You have to experience it with the vastness and the openness. And you know what else? Another thing that I remember all the time and I miss are the beautiful sunsets and the beautiful sunrises. Oh my God, unbelievable. But yeah, I agree with what Richard said too. Layer up. You don't have to pack too much, but just pack wisely. It's about layering.
Thank you so much, you guys. If I were someone was like planning to come into Mongolia for this program, I'm totally convinced, you guys. So your feedbacks and experience were fantastic. And also when you said that Mongolia is not dangerous, and overall it's not dangerous at all. But when it comes to the city, like I would say it's not that dangerous or like there's no such violent crime, etc. at all. It may be just a little bit petty crimes in crowded areas, pickpocketing, something like that. But it's everywhere pretty much in the world, right? Any big cities, there would be such parts like that. But overall, Mongolians, we are quite friendly people. We'll try to help you like any way we could. Like most of the, young people would speak English nowadays, so you'll be fine, so that's great. That's how you felt, especially when I hear you guys felt that way. That's very nice, actually, as a Mongolian, as a local person, So thank you so much, you guys, So it's been a great information session. I hope that, and it would be recorded and it's gonna be shared on our social media platforms, and also we would also ask you to share with anyone you think you should see this information session, that would be great to get the words out, So that's great. I'm so happy be a part of this today's session today. Anyway, so I also forgot to introduce myself properly. So I'm Touche, so I'm the program manager at the ACMS. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you feel you may have. And also, yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much, everybody. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you.